Hey everyone, this is Kate from Moonflower Moments. Y'all will have to excuse the fact that my nails really need to be filled right now. I haven't had much of an opportunity to film. I had graduation, then I got sick, then I went on vacation to New England, and I'll share a little bit more about that in my Salem, Massachusetts haul because I did pick up some decks and some other things while I was in Salem. But at the end of the day, I've just been so on the go. I decided, my nails be damned. I just want to make a video and get back into the game. But it is so exciting to be here. I have so much content lined up for the summer, and so I didn't want to put anything off. I'm just ready to go ahead and get started and jump on in. So today I'm going to be completing the Midyear Tarot tag by Chanel Days. I completed this last year, though last year I think I just selected like my top 6 decks of the year. This year I did decide to go with the prompts that Chanel has created for it. And I always enjoy a reflective practice, right? I think that's what I do here. That's what I do within this space. I like to reflect on my tarot practice. And so I thought that this was a good variety of prompts for me to look back on next year or the year after that, because YouTube does tend to be a little bit of a tarot journal space for me as well. I do like to kind of see what I was up to years ago. So with that being said, and without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started with her prompts that Chanel has provided. So the first prompt is the deck that you use the most during 2025 thus far. And guys, I could have picked another deck for the sake of not being redundant, but it's the deck that I've used the most. So it might seem a little bit redundant, but it is what it is. I can't come on here and lie and say something else, So apologies if you've seen this 700 times. This is the Divining Poets Oracle, the Lucille Clifton edition. This is the deck that I use exclusively for my daily draws for Oracle. And it is an absolute gobsmacker of an oracle in its accuracy. There's no other deck in my collection that I trust more than this one to be able to sense out the energy of the day. Someone calling itself light has opened my inside. I am flooded with brilliance. I got this one on graduation day, so that was a nice one to receive after all the hard work I put in for the ceremony. Where we know where we are, what we are. I get this one quite a bit. Some rivers flow back towards the beginning. I get this one a lot too. I think that this is a deck that asks you to greet it with solemnity. It wants you to walk to it with a solemn attitude. It wants you to take a deep breath before you engage with it. I think it is something that you really have to feel your way through. This is not a deck because it is a collection of Lucille Clifton's verses. It's her poetry. It's not a deck that you're going to analyze or dig super deep into or anything like that. It's a deck that you're gonna feel. And I really appreciate the concept of heart melting into never and no and yes and just the part where Lucille chose to stop there. It just carries on. So this is the deck that I've used the most in 2025. I think I also used it a significant amount in 2024 as well. I love the concept. There's a lot of ideas in here about lifting people up. It's just perfect. So this was Lucille Clifton's the Divining Poets Oracle Lucille Clifton edition. All right, so another Oracle deck that I would like to show is prompt number 2, my new deck. And I just got this deck in Salem. Let me figure out where it went. Here we go. I picked up the Seashell Oracle. So my goal when I went to Salem, Massachusetts was to try to find a bookstore that had, or a metaphysical store that had indie decks. And because Salem is so close to Stamford, Connecticut, I just kept seeing like a lot of US Games decks. And so at the very last store I went into, called Hoswich, I'm gonna go ahead and leave a link below to their store because they sell indie art, indie decks. They sell a lot of like modern art pieces. They had this and all of Broccoli Magazine's other decks. And so it was so great. I almost didn't go into the store because I think y'all know, if you've ever been in a place that has like 10 metaphysical shops, like you can do probably about 6 of them. And when you get to the 6th one, you're like, okay, like I'm kind of seeing the same things. And like that's not like a problem per se. That's why people go to Salem. That's why people go to New Orleans. And I do genuinely enjoy it. But like I said, a lot of the stores pretty much exclusively carried US Games decks. So I was kind of like hungering for something new, something different. And so I was thrilled when I came across this. This is not a deck that I ever thought that I would get, but we happened to be going to Manchester by the Sea. And I was like, you know what? I feel like when in Newport, Rhode Island, when in Manchester by the Sea, when in Cape Cod, these are all the places that I went on my vacation. I feel like I need to have a Seashell Oracle. And it read for me like nobody's business. The little write-ups in this deck have actually already made me cry. So I'm going to pull one. I pulled from this deck 3 times, and 2 of those times I got Urchin. And so the Urchin shields itself with venomous spines. What is your armor? What delicious softness does it protect? So I appreciate the fact that you're actually explaining to me how the keywords connect to the Urchin. You have like a full-bodied image of it, which is really lovely. And then I can very clearly see how this write-up connects to the creature or the item they're describing, but also all 3 keywords. Guys, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I think I got burnt on decks that had more than 1 keyword, because Southern Gothic was the first deck that I ever purchased as an Oracle deck, and I believe it has 2 keywords, and sometimes I can't see how both keywords match up with the write-up, and maybe that's going to be corrected in the new edition. I do hope it is. But I think I've like just not bought decks with more than 1 keyword because of that. And so this was kind of an experience where I was unsure. I was like, is this going to be something that I like? Am I going to be able to get along with a deck that has multiple keywords? But I took a chance on it, and so far all of the readings have been really gut punchy. I use this to open readings, I've used it to close readings, and I'm looking forward to getting to know it on a more intimate scale. Even though I'm a Cancer, I don't have a lot of watery decks, and so I'm really thrilled to have this one in my collection. It's just super exciting, and I love the backs. Like, the backs are these beautiful iridescent colors. So that was the Seashell Oracle. I know I'm a little bit late to the game. I don't know if y'all know this, but she just came out, our Broccoli magazine just came out with the, is it the Celestial Oracle? The lady at the store was trying to encourage me to buy that one because it had just hit the shelf like that day. But I was like, you know what, I'm not going to use that. So I don't want to buy anything that I'm not going to use. So I just stuck to the one that I thought I could use the most. All right, so a deck that could be better. For me, this was actually really hard because I just have a hard time criticizing, because I think, I don't know, I don't know. I hope that doesn't sound pretentious, but like, I do spend like a lot of time looking at decks before I purchase them. I don't know, like, I don't think that I think you can still like look at a deck and get it in and like still be disappointed with it. But like, I think you do get better at collecting as you go, is what I'm gonna say. So it's been kind of like a hot little minute since I've gotten something that kind of like disappointed me, but I'm gonna take it in the direction of like deck that could be better, and it's gonna be very minute. So I wanna talk about the Tarot of the Dead, which I love very dearly. My only issue with it is the font that was chosen for the numbers. So the 3 is very readable, but some of the other ones are not. Like, this is a 2, you can clearly tell it's a 2 because it has 2 coffins. These are the cups. But occasionally I'll get a reading and I won't, like, I have to sit there and count the pips just because the font is not super legible. Okay, and here's the thing too. So I could look into the guidebook for this, and I probably will, like, literally in just 1 second. But I think that this is, sometimes I can't tell if this is a 7 or if this is Jack. And if it's Jack, does that mean that it's Page? Does it mean that it's Knight? Is that why we're doing this, so we don't have like the King and the Knight? I don't know, like, I think if I worked with this deck more consistently, I would remember, but every time I get this J up, I'm like, what the hell does that mean? So for curiosity's sake, let me open that guidebook and see. Okay, here we go. So this is talking about, what suit are we in? We're in the Swords. So it is King, Queen, Knight, and Page. So, all right, if the Jack is a substitute for the Knight or a substitute for the Page, I feel like that language should be used in the guidebook. So that's my only like little minute complaint. I still love to use it for ancestor readings. It is still a really awesome indie deck for $28. So it's just kind of like a little bit of a blip in my using of it. But I think it's something that I'll be able to work through with practice. And it could just be that, like, instead of like looking up the answer every single time or going to a flip through to try to figure out what the hell like the J means, I guess it's Jack, I really probably just need to write in the guidebook. So it's a very simple workaround. Overall, I still really like this deck. I just wish that that era would be addressed, maybe perhaps in another printing, because I know this deck has been around for a very long time. Yep. So this was Tarot of the Dead. I still love like the edges. The backs are some of my favorites of all time. This is my little pocket reader. I like to take it on the go. All right, so a deck that I'm currently using, well, y'all, of course, I went to the sea. So with the sea, I had to bring the Tempest Tarot by US Games. There we go. Let me go ahead and put that down. I don't know. I've been holding all the decks. Beautiful. There we go. So I think I love this deck. You know, I think on first glance, it can seem like really kitschy because it does have like a fair bit of pirates. You know, it's a sea deck. It has sea ships, things like that. But I will say that there's really something special about having your feet in the Atlantic Ocean and pulling a card from the Tempest Tarot. The color scales really worked very well against the beach. And so it's like, I think this is perpetually going to be my vacation deck. I only get to see my in-laws about once every 2 years, but they all live very close to the sea. And I think that this is just going to be my sweet little friend that I take with me every time that I go. And now I have like this beautiful memory, like this nostalgic memory of it with me. So it's such a joy. And it was nice too in the morning because I would pull pretty quick reads while drinking my coffee and kind of visiting with my brother-in-law and my husband. And I really appreciated just a nice simple color palette because at the end of the day, you know, I am on vacation. I don't want to spend 30 minutes trying to decode a message or get anything too in depth, but like a simple message like this, 5 of Wands, like I got this one day and the message very clearly was like, just make sure everyone's voice is heard, like everyone is heard out. And like I was like, okay, got it, easy. And there's not much else going on in the scene, but it says exactly what it needs to say. Oh, I must have shuffled these in. Oh, I love this. I shuffled these in backwards. These were the 2 cards that I pulled on Cape Cod. My husband and I did a reading together and these were the 2 that I got, so fuck yeah. It was a super good week. I really, really enjoyed it. It was my first time ever going to the Cape, so. All right, so that's the deck that I have been currently using. All right, so the next prompt is my biggest surprise, and that has to go hands down to Paulina Faye's The Magic Makers Tarot. This is a US Games deck. I was sent this deck for review and I was very uncertain if I should accept it, right? Because we are allowed to decline if we think that a deck isn't going to work well with us. But I had heard so much about Paulina Faye from my friends who have been reading tarot for a long time, and I said, I want to go ahead and give this creator a chance, and I'm very glad that I did. This is definitely one of my favorite decks in my collection. It is so radically different from everything that I own. Y'all know that I'm not a pastels girl. If anything, I go for nature decks or I go for like fiery decks that have a lot of like chaotic energy. Something that is so detailed but also so pastel is radically different from my usual aesthetic. And I think that's why I keep going back for it, because it's offering me something new. It's offering me something interesting. The guidebook is incredibly accessible. If someone I knew was starting out with tarot, but they wanted something that was, you know, just a little bit different than the RWS, I think that this is within the top 3 decks that I would recommend. Because you think that all of these details are all part of the art, right? But then when you go into the guidebook, you take a second and you say, oh my gosh, like there's not a lot written here. Like they're very short entries, but it seems that every single little bit has meaning. So in particular, I'm really thinking about the 10 of Swords, but I'm going to see if the 9 of Swords rings true with it. Okay, so this is the entry for this particular card. So the Nine of Swords, an unsettling feeling hovers over his head. He's been stressed and has reached a breaking point. When he clears the cobwebs of fear, he'll see that things are not as bad as they seem. Right, so she references the artwork in her little write-ups, even though it's like 1 or 2 sentences. So the cobwebs of fear, I guess, are this guy kind of reaching towards him. But there's also, it looks like there's like cobwebs right here as well. Yeah, actually, as a matter of fact, it looks like a lot of the cobwebs that are around him. We have some here, we have some here. So you start to realize that the fine details aren't just art, right? Like, they're very intentionally chosen details, very succinctly described, so that way people don't get overwhelmed, but there's like one particular focal point to where you can slip into the message just a little bit deeper. So like I said, this was my biggest surprise of the year. This was the Magic Makers Tarot by US Games, created by Paulina Fave. And you know, I think that if she comes out with another deck, I might get that as well, because I think that this is a really unique deck to break people out of the patterns that they've got into. It's a deck that makes you slow down and look at what's in front of you instead of just doing the quick and dirty readings I think all of us kind of get in the habit of doing after we've been reading for a while. And then, I don't know, look, the Ten of Swords, they have a bunch of seeds floating from these flowers. So even though everything has like died off, you still have the seeds that are floating in the air. And I love that. I love that. So that was the Magic Makers Tarot by, like I said, US Games. I don't know why I said that so much. Okay. All right, so the next bit is my current deck crush. I'm going to go ahead and share a deck that I just picked up in Salem. It's actually still in the box. The box doesn't fit on my table, but whatever. It is the Old Style Tarot. So this is absolutely a Krista Chronicles made me do it. I was interested in the aesthetic of this deck, but then Krista pointed out in one of her walkthroughs, reviews, I don't know, at some point, Krista pointed out the botanicals, even though they're not mentioned in the guidebook, really have a lot of meaning. And I was like, okay, cool, sick. So for example, it really shows it pretty potently in some of the suits. Let me go ahead and find what I'm looking for. Okay, here we go. So I don't know exactly what these like botanicals are in the back, like this flora, but you can see that it is like lifting up to the sky, just like someone would in celebration of the Three of Cups. And I find that to be really, really endearing. The Seven of Pentacles always has botanicals, so that's not a great example. Give me a second. Look at that moon, beautiful. The Two of Swords, this reminds me of Rockport, or Newport rather. Okay, here we go, the Page of Pentacles. So like, this is me perhaps reading into it, but he is holding, you can't see it super, super good, but like in front of the pentacle, he's actually holding like a little seedling. So we have like this new growth coming in. He's engaging with the earth in a new way. We have these old trees here that could be like the King of Pentacles or someone that has a little bit more established with the earthly realm. But then we have like these smaller trees around here to kind of reinforce that's who he is. He's dressed in green, really reinforcing that idea of him being earthly. I find it to be very endearing. It's extremely easy for me to look at what I see here. These look like grapevines to me. Of course, this is the King of Pentacles. Of course, he would have grapes because he is wealthy, and he would have like the finest wines and the finest things because he has worked to achieve that level of attainment, that level of status. Here we go, the Nine of Swords. You know, we touch that rose, but it pricks us. You can actually see the thorns all over there. I don't know, as soon as Krista said that, and it was probably like a year ago to date, I was like, this is going on my wish list. And then it never came off. So when I saw it in person, I said, well, actually I told my husband, I said, I wish I wouldn't have bought the other 2 decks because I would have bought this instead. And he said, I think you can buy a 3rd deck. And I said, okay. I didn't need much more convincing. But anyway, I'm happy the shop had it. It is a happy new addition to my collection. It is my current deck crush, so I'm sure you're going to be seeing more about it as the weeks go on. All right, so we have a single card from a deck. So I don't know if the original prompts say tarot card, but I want to show an oracle card. This is Queen of the Moon Oracle. This one also came with me on vacation. I had purchased it in Rhode Island a couple years ago while up there. So I was like, you know what, I feel like it needs to come back home. And it did. So this is the Queen of the Moon Oracle. I had a very hard time with this deck when I started out. And then I edged it in orange. And I just love the modification so much. It's what made me fall in love with this deck. But essentially, this is a perfect reader for when my mind is clouded, when I'm overwhelmed. One single keyword gives me a focus point. This was on my altar for months and months and months in early 2025, because I needed to remember that there were times of lean and there were times of plenty, and I was in a time of lean, and it was just good to remind me that that was part of the cycle. But as of most recent, the card that I've been working with from this deck is the one titled Pleasure. So I didn't work too much with the word itself, but rather I worked with the imagery of this. So when school was wrapping up, I really just needed reminders to be very brutally present in the moment. You know, I think that I've done a lot of work with therapy. I've done a lot of work like sharing my thoughts publicly here in this YouTube space. I think that I've just become a lot more open-hearted in the last year. And so of course, because you're giving your whole heart to something, the ending is very strong. So I pulled this pretty close to the end of the year, and it was a reminder to me, one, that like, you know, things change. We have the butterflies here saying that, you know, the world is going to change, and that's okay. It's part of the process that we metamorphosize. But also that I should go into these last moments with an open, full, rich heart. And so this is the card that I wanted to share with y'all, because it's the one that sat on my altar and really has been defining, I think, the month of May for me, but more specifically 2025 in general, because this is what I've been trying to do. And y'all, usually I hate blue butterflies. I love butterflies, y'all, but like these little kitschy ass like butterflies, I'm like, ooh, that's gross. Like, I don't want to see that. Like, give me native butterflies. But I vibe with this. I do. I think that, you know, she's giving her full self forward, and that's what we can all hope for. All right, so that was my single card from a deck. That was the Queen of the Moon Oracle. All right, the next, a deck that makes me happy. I mean, I keep showing this deck on my channel, and I don't know, y'all probably think it's crazy, but I don't care. I love this deck. The deck that makes me happy, and probably the deck that has made me the happiest of 2025, probably my most happy or happiest deck purchase, has to be my field guide to the Garden Dragons Oracle. And I've edged this one as well as orange, because that is a color that makes me really fucking happy. So I use this deck all the time. These are my little guides. These are my little protectors. These are my little mentors as I go through life. I feel like there's so much for me to learn from these dragons. And I really like the option to engage with the botanicals, right? Like celery. Like celery is used in a lot of like Louisiana cooking, especially if you're trying to cook like Cajun or Creole dishes. It's part of the base of the seasonings. And so I can like go into it with a concept of like, you know, gumbo definitely renews my soul. And I always put a little bit of celery in my gumbo. I always put a little bit of celery in my jambalaya. You know, it's just something that is fresh and beautiful, right? So I can work with the botanicals, but then I can also, if I'm like feeling tired and I don't really want to dip too far into a metaphor of the botanical land, because it can be very exhausting to work with like layer upon layer upon layer of metaphor, I can just look at the fucking dragon and be like, look how fucking cute he is. And I mean, no, look how cute this is. I love this. So of course I'm going to show you what I've been pairing it with. Apologies if you have seen this before, because it's not the first time it's been on my channel, but I think we all need things that make us happy, and this current match is what is doing that for me. So this is the Neopets Tarot. I don't know of anyone else who vibes this deck as hard as I do, but I full and unapologetically embrace the fact that this is one of my favorite matches of all time. I think these decks were meant to be together. These are the decks that I go to when I want answers, right? Like, they do give me answers. The Garden Dragons are extremely helpful. Like, they're little garden mates. The Neopets Tarot reads like a charm for me. It is not an Inside Editions deck. It is a deck that was indie, that went mass market and was published by Andrew McNeil's. And so it actually has a very substantial, meaty guidebook. And like, look at these colors. Look how good that looks. I think aesthetically, they're on point. I think whimsically, they're on point. And I think we need things that help us engage with ourselves at like our most childhood level. And these decks absolutely provide that to me. All right, so we'll flip one more time. I always like to flip to end on like a good match. Yeah. Okay, there we go. So this was the Neopets Tarot and the Field Guide to Garden Dragons. I know Shanna also uses this deck quite a bit as well. I'm always happy to see other people vibe in this deck too, because it's small, it's tiny, it's very portable. I waited way too long to purchase it. I should have purchased it years ago, honest to God. All right, so the next one is a great guidebook, and I'm going to show you the deck, and then I will show you the guidebook. Y'all know, I think that this deck is, I mean, it's not even a think. Like, I know for a fact this deck is within my top 3. And this is Wald Radiance. There we go. I probably like unapologetically influencing people to buy this. I didn't mean to, but like I just keep talking about it. It's so damn good. The cardstock is absolute trash. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I say absolute trash. Like that was perhaps is too harsh. It has like a really bad bow. That doesn't really bother me, but if it's something that bothers you, I do think that that's something to be aware of. Let me try to de-influence a little bit. Here we go. I love the warm, bright colors. This is a summer deck for me. I ended up using this in April pretty substantially because it felt like Aries. It felt like a lot of things on the move. It felt like sitting in your own personal power. I really should do a video of decks that help me sit in my personal power. I think that this would probably be #1 on the list. I'm gonna have to remember to write that down. But it is my ultimate deck that makes me feel body present. It makes me feel strong. This Empress and I had a whole moment for like a couple of weeks. I just fucking love this deck. I forgot that I was supposed to be showing the guidebook, y'all. Hold up, sorry. All right, let's see. The Fool. Yeah, the Fool's fine. I don't think anyone's ever too angry to get the Fool in a reading, right? Okay, cool. So she does this not only for the majors, but also for the minors. I would say that the write-ups for each are actually pretty equal, which is something that's pretty important to me. Whoa, guys. I really need to figure out my lighting situation. I'm so sorry. This lighting looks like trash. Okay. All right. So we have directions. So we have some keywords here. We have the legend, which is essentially a guidebook description of it. We have the light. But my absolute favorite part of this guidebook is this radiance tip. Take a moment to skip instead of walking to connect with your inner child. So there's always 1 or 2 things that you can do to engage with the energy of this card. And a lot of times the way that the creator will present this tip, like I do have Tarot Toolkit. I ended up giving that book to a friend of mine because Tarot Toolkit does this too, and it encourages you to like do activities associated with the card. I felt like some of those activities presented in that book were substantial, but I felt like a lot of them were pretty rote. I feel like with these, like take a moment to skip instead of walking to connect with your inner child. I feel like it's just unconventional. It's unusual. I'm going to grab this one. 4 of Cups. Participate in a cause you believe in, whether it's volunteering, cleaning up nature, or organizing a community event. Use your thoughtfulness to make a difference. Yeah. Oh, and I forgot to mention too, we have the affirmations up here too. So this was a really powerful pairing. Sorry, this quality is not what I expect. I'm sorry, my camera quality is trash. But anyway, I like these little affirmations paired with my Lucille Clifton Oracle, the one that I showed first in this video, because a lot of times these phrases will align really, really well with what is presented there. Okay, so this was my guidebook that did not want to be shown on camera. There we go. I finally got the camera to focus. Alrighty, so next, I think we just have Here we go. Some prompts, and I think I show one more deck. So for number 10, what is a deck that I am waiting on or want for by the end of the year, and I'm really looking forward to My Friend Fire by Mari in the Sky. I use the Gentle Tarot all the time, and so I'm looking forward to adding that Oracle deck into my collection because I think that Mari has a way of making content that is really intention based and very full body present. I like a lot of like how she always encourages you to center back to yourself, and so I'm looking forward to My Friend Fire. So I know that she's been working very hard on that Oracle deck, and I can't wait to have it. So a deck that I need to use, or not even need to use, I think the prompt said like want to use but haven't yet or something like that. I wrote it down as need to use because it's a reminder myself I need to use this deck, is my Tarot by Manzel. I do really enjoy this deck. I got it in at a very busy time, so I haven't had the opportunity to play with it the way that I want to. Look at that shine. He still has some decks available for sale. And I absolutely adore, y'all, how detailed his artwork is. That's the whole reason that I bought this deck. I just slip into those details like nothing else. I think that this is one that I have to take out in the garden with me. I like to work with detail, like art, like very detailed artwork when I'm in the garden, because it's a reminder to me to notice like the high contrast of, for example, my live oak trees. My live oak trees have bark that is very highly contrasted. And so the card and the artwork itself kind of acts as a reminder to, you know, take a second and look. Like, the world is high definition in front of your face. Like, you have good glasses, Kate. Like, go look at the world. So I don't have a ton to say about it other than the fact that I think that the production quality on this is absolutely spectacular. It comes in at 10, which is my preferred method always for decks to come in. And I think that this is a creator really worth supporting. And so I'm looking forward to getting to know the Tarot by Manzel and playing it with it more as the summer months come. This definitely feels like a summer deck for me with the richness of the colors. Beautiful. 3 of Cups. Alrighty, so that was the deck that I want to use, need to use, etc., etc. Etc., etc. I'm gonna say need to use because, like, come on, like, I'm ready to use it. All right, so a couple more prompts. So the favorite video that I've seen, or the favorite video that I've made, I actually have 2 favorite videos this year. I haven't been watching YouTube with regularity, but now that the summer is back in session, I can't wait just to watch YouTube, like, and binge YouTube. Like, I don't work during the summer, so I'm looking forward to catching up on all of my favorite creators. But I wanted to mention Simply Hand's 7 simple fixes when tarot doesn't make sense. That was me. I was trying to read my handwriting. Yeah, 7 simple fixes when tarot doesn't make sense. I'll leave it in the description box below. So Simply Hand really does a lot of excellent content in terms of creating things that make tarot accessible to all. So I have been appreciating the content that she has been producing because I feel like if a beginner were to stumble onto her channel, they would easily find a lot of like really useful advice that we all kind of needed when we started, and she does it in such a kind and empathetic way, and so I wanted to give her a shout out. I also wanted to shout out Kaluna V, and that would be Spring Energy Shifts and Forest Bathing. I savor Cal's videos. So Cal only posts probably like once every month, once every 2 months. But with that being said, the videos are always long form, like they're always 40 minutes. I will see that Kaluna has like posted a video and I will like save it to drink with tea, to have like a sweet treat with. Like, it is a video that like I always look forward to watching. So in her spring video, she described everything that she really got up to in the past few months, but she shares a lot of footage from her hikes. And y'all know probably from me just being here, like, I wish that I could do like more vlog style content, but that content is really hard to film. So anyone who like takes me along with them on a hike, like that's incredible. Like, the amount of video editing that goes into that is just astounding. And like, they live in the Pacific Northwest, and so the world is just really beautiful up there. So I'm gonna leave a link to their channel down below too, so you can give it a try. And then the last prompt, prompt 13, is pull a card for the next 6 months. Pull or pick. I think I'm going to go ahead and pull a card. And I did not show this guy, but this guy was a runner-up for the most used deck of the year. This is Tarot of Trees. So I feel like I need to show this guy. And I'm going to pull a card. We'll see. Queen of Wands. Yeah, never mad to see her. Oh, with the Magician on the bottom. Oh, we'll leave him too. Let me look at the other bottom. Two of Wands, cute. Okay, cool, cool, cool. So that seems to be like a lot of forward motion, a lot of planning to achieve the goals. But I really love the Queen of Wands. She sits in herself. I am entering into my Saturn return. My Saturn is in Aries in the 7th house, and so I do think that I'm going to come across some themes in my life where I'm going to have to learn how to assert myself and really take on those leadership roles that I've kind of previously accepted with reluctance. I think it's probably time for me to step into them and be the kind of social, confident leader that I think the Queen of Wands is. I think I'm ready for that. So Queen of Wands for the next 6 months with the Magician, Two of Wands. I think I'm going to call it good. That seems to be a good stopping place. Alrighty guys, so I appreciate y'all bearing with me as I'm still getting my setup arranged. I mean, it probably doesn't look terrible. I was just so used to the natural lighting. It's hard to go back to like artificial lighting when you used to have sunlight, but you know what I mean. So I appreciate y'all's patience as I'm working through those kinks. I'm really looking forward to producing a significant amount of content this summer and engaging with all of you. So I want to go ahead and tell you thank you guys for being here, and I will see y'all again next time.